welcome to the 21st Hayley-Roxanna Crafts quick cross stitch video, where I share information, hints and tips on one area of cross stitch in a short video. In this video, I am focusing on how to do petite stitches on Aida fabric. Petite stitches are worked in the same way as full cross stitches, but use a quarter of the space of a full cross stitch. So 4 petite stitches can be stitched in the same space as 1 full cross stitch. This is how petite stitches may be shown on some charts. However, I show quarter stitches in this way on my charts, which is why it is best to consult the instructions for your chart to understand how the designer has shown them if they are using them in the design. So if the chart shows a petite stitch in the top left corner of a square, then to do this you need to bring your needle up through the side of the corresponding square, the left side, halfway between the 2 left holes of the square. Then you would take your needle down through the top of that square, halfway between the 2 top holes. You then need to bring your needle up through the middle of the square and then take your needle down through the top left hole. And that gives you a petite stitch in the top left corner of your square. If you struggle piercing the fabric between the holes, the needle, you may just need to give that needle a little bit of a wiggle. And if you're still having difficulty, using a sharper needle may help. If the chart shows the petite stitch in the top right corner of the square, to do this, you need to bring your needle up through the middle of the corresponding square on your fabric. You then need to take your needle down through the top right hole of that square. Then bring your needle up through the right side of the square in the middle between the 2 holes. And then take your needle down through the top of the square in the middle between the 2 top holes. And that gives you a petite stitch in the top right corner. If the chart shows that you need a petite stitch in the bottom left corner of the square, you start that by bringing your needle up through the bottom left hole of the corresponding square on your fabric, and then you want to take your needle down through the middle of the square. Then you need to bring your needle up through the bottom of that square, halfway between the 2 bottom holes. And then take it down through the left side of your square, halfway between the 2 left holes, to give you a petite stitch in the bottom left corner. If the chart shows a petite stitch in the bottom right corner of the square, you need to start that by coming up through the bottom of the corresponding square, halfway between the 2 bottom holes, and then take your needle down through the right side of the square, halfway between the 2 right holes. Then bring your needle up through the bottom right hole of that square and finish the petite stitch by going down through the middle, very centre of that corresponding square on your fabric, to give you a petite stitch in the bottom right corner. So like I said at the beginning, 4 petite stitches take up the same space as 1 full cross stitch. If you stitch your 4 cross stitches the opposite way to me, so if you do right to left for your bottom half of the cross stitch, and then left to right for the top half, then you need to do your petite stitches in the same way. Petite stitches are used by designers to add more detail in a small space in their design. They are often surrounded by full cross stitches or vertical or horizontal half stitches. Designs with petite stitches in them tend to be more advanced. If you have any questions about petite stitches, please pop them in the comments. And in next week's video, I will demonstrate petite stitches on even weave fabric, where they can be slightly easier to do.